like them boys. I like them boys. We're going to have drinks together. They promised me that. They asked me that. I'm going to go to Texas. We're going to have drinks together. And we're going to have a good time. But you need to understand that while we're having a good time, it's important that we recognize the need to be truthful here.
It's like Alabama. It's heading east. It's getting a little uptight. You're heading east.
Let me get serious. Here's the deal. David Irving is gone. Randy Gregory is gone. I mean, the only professional franchise that I repeatedly ask Max, are you sure that they're eligible? Are you sure about their eligibility? I mean, it's professional sports, but eligibility matters. You got to be on the field. You got those two gone, okay? Because they're both gone. David Irving puff, and pass. He puff, and passed on his NFL career. Randy Gregory can't stop puffing and passing, okay? All right, I'm sorry. He just puffs. He won't pass. That's his problem. Now we got a situation. You got this kid Lawrence, who's a stud, who led you in sacks. You franchised him last year at $17 million. You're probably going to try to do it this year at $20 million if all else fails. But the reality is that he's deserving of it. Now, I'm not going to completely blame Jerry and Steven for it from this perspective. Dak Prescott got a bunch of cap money. Dak Prescott getting about $650,000 last year. He's due to make about $25 million with his new contract per year at least. Ezekiel Elliott made about $2.7 million last year. He's due to make about $18 million. And so that's about $4. I mean, listen, once he gets his contract, I'm sorry. I said, you know what? You're right. It might be
real high for running back.
But that's what he's saying. They were saying it because of Todd Gurley or whatever, but it's very, very high for a running back. You're absolutely right. I'm thinking more along the lines of 16. I don't think that's beyond the realm for him.
$15 million range.
I don't think the 15 to 16 million range. I'm leaning more towards 16 because the Cowboys desperately need him. If you can talk to Lawrence about that being the cause as to why you shouldn't be a stickler for the $22 million as opposed to the $20 million we're willing to give you, maybe. But I do say this. The Cowboys' defense has looked better than it has in years. You can't mess this up. If ever there was a time Lawrence had leverage, it is now. And the Cowboys have got to take care of him. If they don't, well, then well. We all know what I'm going to be saying to you in the months to come.
Will, what's the problem with the Cowboys? Give me one name.
I can't really think of one.
You can't?
No, I got one. Jason Garrett.
Jason Garrett. You know why Jason Garrett's such a problem? Because when your quarterback's on his rookie deal, if you believe you got a winner there, that's your chance to strike. One of the issues with the Cowboys is they're victims of their own success. They are not only just show.
Hold on, can we show him, Max? I'm sorry to interrupt. This is going to take. This is a two-man effort. All right, hold on real quick, because I can't let my man hang out. Just let go for 1 second. You got it on backwards.
I got him backwards. Thank you very much. Thank you kindly.
On backwards.
I appreciate that, sir. I appreciate that. Can't tell the difference. Go ahead, sir. I apologize.
I don't remember what I was saying, but
Jason Garrett.
Look, the fact of the matter with the Cowboys is now they're victims of their own success because they're really good and young. And you know how people get paid, even average annual, based on how many years of productivity they have ahead of them, because that'll be the size of their bonus, which is then prorated. So one of the problems with Ezekiel Elliott is he's really young and really good and coming up for a payday. So you're going to have to pay him a lot. Same thing with DeMarcus Lawrence. You know, the war daddy that Jerry Jones talked about, well, you got him. Now you got to pay him, and here's where they made a big mistake in terms of negotiating with him. They lowballed him. They gave him an offer where the average annual value of the contract would be under the franchise tag value. Come on, man. So now you know what you have. Now I understand what they're doing. They're sending a signal to DeMarcus Lawrence. We really don't want to give you the number you want. Like, let's meet halfway. But I think what's wound up happening is now DeMarcus is he's got his heels dug in.
And here's what you're really not saying to Will, Max. That's not very hospitable. Now, is that Southern hospitality?
Do you know?
I mean, come on.
That would be.
I expect better from Jerry and Steven. I expect better from my boys.
That would be good analysis if we were talking about a dinner party.
Okay.
But we're talking about business and football here. And you guys are chastising the Cowboys for trying to watch their balance sheet, watch their pennies, to have prudent financial decisions here.
Right.
No, wait, Will, I'm saying there's a way to do that.
Hold on. The real thing that matters here is guaranteed money.
Will's trying to hold back laughing. You hear Will trying to hold back his laughing?
How can I not?
Prudent, and the Cowboys? That's what you just said?
think they're being prudent here. They're trying to, as you point out, they've got Dak coming up. They got Zeke. They got Amari. They got Byron Jones. They're trying to not lock up too much money in one guy. They want to keep all the guys. And you can't come down on them today saying it's an accident waiting to happen when they're trying to be smart.
I'll tell you why, yes. They finally got that defense, and now it's falling apart. But I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why, in fact, you can. This happened with the Steelers, too, your team. Don't thank me. This happened with you. Listen, I'm not one to talk with the way the Giants have been, but...
Let's get back to that.
When Kevin Colbert looked at Le'Veon Bell, he thought, you can't pay a running back who's going to be looking at his late 20s the money he wants. I'm going to play hardball, because that's what you always do with the running backs, right, at that age. It backfired. Because Le'Veon said, okay, in that case, I'm going to hold out. And DeMarcus Lawrence, the feeling is he actually will hold out if he doesn't get his money.
But Max, to the point, Pittsburgh and Le'Veon Bell is a lesson that provides a warning for DeMarcus Lawrence. Le'Veon Bell, and we had this debate.
The Pittsburgh Steelers, because they didn't make the playoffs.
To some extent, the Steelers. Okay, but Le'Veon Bell did not make the money he thought, and that should serve as a warning for Tank.
Okay, fine, but to show the players that, to demonstrate that to the players, they sacrificed their season, the Steelers. And this is what I'm saying about the Cowboys right now. It's one thing to want to watch the balance sheet. It's another to overplay your hand and then have it backfire where a guy digs in his heels, and that's what's happening with Lawrence.
Well, my response to you, Max, is I reckon you're right. You're absolutely correct in your analysis there. I'll get back to you, Will King. Here's the deal. Dallas Cowboys, 6th defensively last year, 7th in yards allowed. If you look at them, if you looked at that performance against the New Orleans Saints, it's the first time, like, all of our eyes were open. Like, this defense is legit. These boys are no joke. And then you're talking about Smith and Van Der Esch. He's like, these boys, arguably the best linebacking duo in football. There's an argument there right now. Considering the level of ineptitude that you guys have been experiencing over recent history, how dare you act like they got house money? You can bring up the Steelers all you want to. The Steelers have a history of at least getting to the postseason. The Steelers haven't spent years of being irrelevant when it comes to postseason competition. That's the Dallas Cowboys. You made the playoffs this year. You're on the upswing. You've got an elite player on the defensive side of the ball. You take care of that dude. You take care of him. You don't compromise it for prudency. When prudency, listen, prudency didn't help you. Didn't help you before. How many years have you tried to be prudent and it didn't work?
Most of those years that the Cowboys failed is because they weren't prudent, because they were profligate spenders in free agency. Now they're being smart and you're coming down on. What they're avoiding is 3 years down the road, you coming out here with that hat on, that accent, and going, they got tied up in that DeMarcus Lawrence contract.
Will,
if you
could
I would not say that. I would not say that.
Would you start by offering 17, which is under the franchise tag?
No.
Right, they started it out.
I didn't say they were perfect.
I got a better question for you, Will Kane. Considering how you are about your Cowboys and considering how frustrating a life you have had because of them, is it possible? I said it because of them. Is it possible, Will Kane? Are you willing to say you're willing to cost yourself a potential, postseason berth, championship, all of this stuff, just to be prudent about $2 million extra a year?
I recognize the window is now, the next 3 years. This deal is not over. But there are deals over. There is a franchise to learn from. It's yours.
Why?
And speaking of that, someone here thinks Ben Roethlisberger is getting a pass. So let's talk about the Steelers. Let's not allude to them. Let's directly address